This episode of The Far End of the Bench with Jimmy and Niko Bryant is sponsored by MyBookie.ag. Sign up today and use promo code BENCH, BENCH, to double your first deposit up to $1,000. This episode is also dedicated to the memory and life of Demaryius Thomas, former Denver Broncos receiver who passed away last Thursday. Niko, it's obviously a tough thing to talk about. It's been it was a rough weekend for a lot of Broncos fans and in the sports media world in general. Especially in Colorado. I know you listen to 92.5. I'm sure that they had plenty of people on to talk about DT. I listened to 104.3. I listened to the show that Brandon Stokely hosted, and obviously Stokely was super good friends with Demaryius Thomas, and he talked about that kind of being like a father figure and a brother figure. He told some good stories. It's one of those times. There's been a few people that I haven't ever met in person that when they passed, it affected me. I'd say the first one was Eddie Guerrero. He was just kind of the first superhuman person that I saw that died. The second one would be probably Robin Williams. And then, I was not watching the football game on Thursday night, so I didn't see the reports when the game was going on. I found out through you tweeting about it on our Twitter page, and I was trying to Google it. Obviously, you'd think a guy like Demaryius Thomas, I didn't know about his medical conditions that he was dealing with after the car accident, but I was like, there's no fucking way. This has to be a joke.
It felt like a joke. It felt like, well, let's wait until the reports came out. Let's wait until everything comes out because it didn't feel real. And then when it did, when obviously the Denver reporters started confirming it, that's when I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, he was legit like 1 or 2 years removed from playing. Like, in general, 3 years removed from being a Bronco. Like, it felt like, why, like he obviously, like, he was at Peyton's Hall of Fame and when he got inducted, what was it, October or August, or might have been July, whatever it was. He was there and they were interviewing him, and apparently, obviously, he never said this on recording or whatever, but he was saying that he was having health problems, and at the time, everyone thought it was just COVID related. They thought that, well, that's just the way it is, and that's what they thought it was. And obviously, it was much more than that. It's unfortunate. Obviously, probably the worst part about it, I think, of it all was obviously the situation with his mom. His mom was in prison from when he was 11 years old until 2016, and he only got to see her son play for 3 or 4 years. Only had 5 years with her son, which is probably the most heartbreaking thing about it. But like I said, it was very tough to keep it together during that, because I think Sunday there's every single DT chant, every single 88, whatever it was. Like it was the little things like Justin Simmons putting the ball on his number, or whether it be that last touchdown drive being 88 yards. It's little things that are like, this seems surreal, and that's just the way it is. And like I said, I could not be more prouder to be a Broncos fan and a Demaryius Thomas fan, because stuff like that makes you realize this. Football is just a sport, and it's just stuff in between lines. Beyond that, he did much more for the community and much more for the city than just score touchdowns and catch 80-yard screen plays and take it to the house like no one ever has.
Yeah, the DT. Everybody used to call that play the DT. Remember when we first started seeing it, everybody's like, that play doesn't fucking work.
It doesn't work.
Why would you throw it to the receiver 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage? And then you realize DT's 6'5", 230, and ran a 4.38 40. So
yeah, something stupid.
He can make it a touchdown. No, that's the crazy thing, is that he was such a good player, and nobody talks about that first. Everybody just talks about him being so kind and generous. Like, fans that met him one time or had one interaction with him, I'm not even really a Bronco fan. He just makes you proud to be in the community because of what he was accomplishing and doing, and the fact that he overcame that whole situation with his mom at 11 years old when he had so many opportunities to go down that same path. And at 11 years old, he got a job picking peas before and after school so that he can make money and put food on the table for his 2 little sisters. At 11 years old, if there's not a better person that has persevered through more and made the best out of his life and the opportunities that he was given, I'd like to be shown who that guy is because he is. I mean, DT was one of a kind.
Yeah, there's a reason why the whole city, like, it's not necessarily just the Broncos, it's the Nuggets, the Avs, it's every single team, whatever it may be. He touched
everybody around the league.
The league, like whether it be the Rams wearing their helmets or the Jets he only played for a year doing a memoriam, or the Patriots, Julian Edelman only played with him for 2 weeks. Tom Brady only played with him for 2 weeks, and it affected them. Like, he was that type of person, and it's a damn shame he was 33 and there's so much more life for him to have. But at some point in the game, I realized at the same time there's time to think back and, like, damn, I can't believe this happened. At the same time, you gotta think of the life this guy had. He did so much while he was here, and right now him and Mr. B are hugging up in heaven and yelling at this offense and yelling at this team down in heaven, being like, what the fuck are they doing? And I know Mr. B, who was one of the reasons that Peyton came here, and DT was one of the reasons that Peyton came here. Both those guys are watching this team now, they're angels over us, and I could not be more thankful to be a fan of him and have watched him my whole life, basically.
Yeah, he was. He was drafted that same year as Tebow. I almost forgot that he was drafted that year because everybody was just talking about Tebow getting drafted. There's obviously so many highlights that the Steelers highlight. Everybody's seen 1,000 times.
It's the highlight this generation's Broncos fan had. Obviously, our parents, the people above us, have the helicopter, the Elway twist. We had the DT from Tebow play, because I don't think that stadium has gotten louder. Obviously, we've had 2 AFC championships at home. Like, we've had big plays, we've had winning teams, but the shock and the factor that DT was able to take that, and shout out Coach Logan, who obviously was both of our coaches, with that call. Like, it's something that will be etched in our minds forever.
Yeah, they play, the radio station I was listening to was playing it with the CBS call, and that's good because it was Jim Nantz and Phil Simms, and people forget that situation. That was the first time that was the first overtime with the new rules in the playoffs. And
and the thing about that I heard was too, like, no one knew the game was over. They were like, wait, do they get the ball back? Like, it was one of those things. It was a walk off.
Is it okay to celebrate?
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay to celebrate now. All right, that's good. But Coach Logan's call. Coach Logan's been my voice that I've wanted to get into sports broadcasting for my whole life. I've been very open about that with his call of Super Bowl 32, and then the DT play was up there. When I would call games in college, I would try to do the here we go foot race, the type stuff that he does. But yeah, DT was...
It's something with that corner, obviously, because obviously he caught that 509th touchdown, which I said earlier was the leading most amount of touchdowns in NFL history at that time, and during the season it was crazy when that all happened. Obviously he's played a different time now, and obviously that record has been shattered, but it was cool at the time. And then obviously Justin Simmons with the ode, putting the ball down was just icing on the cake.
Yeah, and I think too, there wasn't a lot of players on the Broncos team that had played with DT.
Yeah.
And just the way everybody else rallied around it, Cortland wearing the jersey and being the one to take his place, I think, if we're going to talk about him sitting down there and watching the game, I'm sure he loved that because he was the guy that wanted the guys behind him to do better. The most unselfish, Columbus told a story where the offensive line room would get food on Fridays when they would watch film, and only the offensive line was allowed to eat it. And if anybody else came in and ate it, they would be fined $100. DT would always come in and take whatever he wanted, and at one point, because they used to just put it on their fine board, and he would just pay it at that point. Like week 6 or 7, Tyler's like, he just walks into the O-line room now, throws $100 on the table, and takes what he wants. That's all he's the kind of teammate that you would love to play for, the kind of leader that you would want in your organization, the kind of role model that you want in your community. And, Like we said, there's not many. I've not heard a single person tell a bad story about it.
And like I said in the center of attention, like he was the star player on offense. Obviously, Peyton Manning got all the attention, but DT was the guy you circle and be like, this guy's going to put up numbers against us. We have to double team him. We have to keep the safety over the top on him because of the type of talent he was. And it's so funny because like he was 6'5" and he was so tall and he was so lengthy, but at the same time, like he's a guy that wanted to be a normal person, whether it be the countless stories of him playing pickup basketball in downtown Denver, or him going to Chipotle and signing autographs, taking pictures with kids. The guy was one with his community and as a star receiver, you look around the league, if you're a star receiver, you're known as a diva. DT was never, ever seen as that persona, and he was the guy on this team for more than half a decade.
Yeah, and one last story that I heard from those shows I was listening to over the weekend, and I don't know why I did that to myself, because after I heard it and after it really sank in, it was tough to hold it all together. But he played basketball and football, and from everybody that was talking, basketball was his first love, and just wasn't necessarily as talented in that sport as he was in football. He was playing in a playoff game for his Georgia high school. And he had figured out, like, okay, I can play in this playoff game and I'll still have a chance to make it to the basketball game that we have that night too. We'll see if I'm able to play. Ends up getting there right before halftime. They're down 20 at halftime. The coach is like, all right, I guess you're fresh, so you can go in and play. Drops 30. The team loses by like 2 or 3. It was a one-possession game at that point. And he was asked years later, he's really good friends with the editor of the Mile High Sports magazine, and he was getting interviewed by him, and he goes, what do you remember about that? Because that's like the legend of Demaryius Thomas. Everybody talks about that. DT, what do you remember? He goes, man, if I was there for longer, we probably would have won. Not in a cocky way, not in a I dropped 30 and I only played a half kind of way. He was just like, he felt bad. He's like, I had to play football, so I missed out. I feel I let these teammates down, but no, I'm going to go ahead, and if I was there the whole game, we probably would have won. Yeah, you're probably right, DT. You're probably right.
Yeah, there's countless stories. Like I'm like I said, I'm so damn proud to be a Broncos fan. So damn proud to have gotten a chance to watch him. And I can proudly say that if it wasn't for DT, I don't know how big of a Broncos fan I'd be. Because like I said, I never really watched the team around Plummer, Cutler, all those days, especially when our team sucked. Tebow to DT brought my fan to a whole nother level and brought me to every single game, made me watch every single game, and I still do, and it's all because of DT.
Yeah, if DT didn't exist, we probably wouldn't have this podcast. So 70 episodes deep, we can finally say thank you, DT, and this whole entire episode is going to be dedicated to him. We obviously had to talk about that. We had a lot of emotion and feeling that we wanted to get out, and everybody's been talking about it. So thank you for letting us get that out for you guys. And now we'll transition and start talking about some of the major sports things that happened last week, and we'll get into our regular normal segments.